Ethan tapped his fingers against the cool wood of the dining table, barely hearing the muffled voices around him. The scent of roasted chicken and rosemary filled the air, but his appetite had long disappeared. Tonight had started like any other family dinner, routine, warm, predictable. Until his mother casually dropped the bombshell between bites of mashed potatoes. "We decided your inheritance should go to Lena instead." The words rang in Ethan's ears, hollow and surreal. He blinked at his mother, at his father sitting beside her, calmly reaching for his glass as if what they'd just said was no more significant than discussing weekend plans. What? His voice came out brittle, weak. "Lena has kids, Ethan," his father said, his tone firm, almost final. "She needs it more than you do." A beat of silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Across the table, Lena stiffened, shifting in her seat. She refused to meet Ethan's gaze, staring down at her untouched plate. Ethan swallowed hard, forcing himself to breathe, but the air felt thin. For years, his parents had promised him this inheritance, a safety net, a recognition of everything he'd built on his own. And now, without warning, without discussion, they had stripped it away. "That money was meant for me. You said so yourselves." He hated how raw his voice sounded, how much it trembled. "Plans change," his mother said softly, as if that would ease the crushing betrayal burning through his chest. A bitter laugh escaped him. "Plans change. But only when he wasn't the one benefiting. And you didn't think I deserved even a conversation before deciding I don't need it." He met his father's gaze, cold, unwavering, dismissing his anger like it was immature, unnecessary. "You're stable, Ethan. You don't have children to think about, a future to secure." Lena finally spoke, her voice hesitant. "Ethan, I didn't ask for this." His stomach twisted. Maybe she hadn't. But she sure hadn't refused it, either. The weight of exclusion pressed down on him, heavier than ever. He was not a priority. Not to them, not in their calculations, not when it mattered. And for the first time, he wasn't sure he belonged at this table anymore. Ethan didn't wait for pleasantries. He couldn't. "You had no right." His voice cracked, but there was no mistaking the fury beneath it. His parents stood across from him in the living room, their expressions tired, dismissive, as if they had expected this fight and had already decided it wasn't worth taking seriously. His father sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. "Ethan, no. You don't get to shrug this off. You promised me that money. It wasn't just words, it was my future. And now, suddenly, because I don't have kids, it doesn't matter." His mother flinched at the sharp edge in his voice. "It's not that simple." "Oh, really?" He let out a bitter laugh, shaking his head. "Tell me, what part of this theft is complicated?" Across the room, Lena sat stiffly on the couch, hands clenched together in her lap. Guilty, but silent. "I didn't ask for this, Ethan," she murmured finally. Ethan's gaze snapped to her, fire in his eyes. "But you didn't say no, either." Lena looked away. "It's not fair," she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. "But, my kids need a future." Those words hit harder than expected. Not fair, but justified. Ethan exhaled sharply, the weight of his sacrifices pressing down on him. Flashbacks surged forward, unbidden. Years of hard work. Late nights spent building something out of nothing. Every time he'd turned down help, every time he'd swallowed the struggle alone, because his parents always said, "We'll make sure you have security one day." Lies. "I wasn't asking for a handout," he said, voice low and tired. "I worked for this. I earned this. I trusted you." His father shook his head. "We knew you'd land on your feet." Ethan's breath hitched. There it was. The unspoken truth. He didn't need them. He was never meant to rely on them. And Lena did? His voice was sharp now. His mother hesitated. Lena's shoulders curled inward. "It wasn't just about need, Ethan," his father finally admitted. "It was about doing what we thought was best, for the family." The words sliced through him. For the family. So where did that leave him? Ethan stopped answering phone calls. At first, his mother tried calling every couple of days, her voice tight with forced warmth. "Ethan, let's talk. You shouldn't hold on to this anger." Then, his father's messages came, short, clipped, barely more than polite reminders. "Family dinner this Sunday. It would be good if you came." He didn't. Weeks passed, and the space between Ethan and his family stretched into something solid, something easier to maintain than confrontation. It wasn't just resentment, it was survival. Every interaction felt like reopening a wound they refused to acknowledge. Rationalizing didn't help. Maybe they really did think Lena deserved it more. Maybe they believed I didn't need them. Maybe they were right, but each time he tried to accept it, the bitterness clawed its way back. His sacrifices, his efforts, they had meant nothing. "You're letting this rot you." Ethan glanced up from his untouched coffee, watching Oliver drop into the seat across from him. His best friend's tone was matter-of-fact, but there was something sharp behind his eyes, concern masked by bluntness. "I'm fine," Ethan muttered, stirring his drink without taking a sip. Oliver scoffed. "Yeah? Is that why you look like you haven't slept in a month?" Ethan clenched his jaw, turning toward the window. Oliver sighed, leaning forward. "Look, I'm not saying what they did wasn't awful. It was. But if you just sit here, avoiding them forever, they win. They get to brush this off, pretend like it's no big deal. That's what they want." Ethan swallowed, heat rising in his chest. "So what, you think I should just forgive them?" "No," Oliver said, shaking his head. "I think you should do something about it." Ethan scoffed, but Oliver's next words stopped him cold. "If someone took something from me, something I deserved, I wouldn't just let them get away with it." The word settled in his gut like a stone. For weeks, Ethan had avoided the fight, hoping distance would make it hurt less. But maybe silence wasn't the answer. Maybe the only way to deal with this was to act. Ethan stared at his laptop screen, eyes scanning through dense paragraphs of legal jargon. Inheritance laws. His fingers hovered over the trackpad, itching to close the tab, but he forced himself to keep reading. For weeks, he had tried to accept the betrayal. But Oliver was right, if he did nothing, they won. Researching the law. He skimmed through case studies, lawyer forums, anything that hinted at wrongfully redirected inheritances. Most of them circled around the same idea. If the will was changed without proper documentation, it could be contested. If undue influence was involved, it could be legally challenged. If fraud was suspected, if assets were hidden or manipulated, his parents could be exposed. His gut twisted. There was a chance, however small, that this wasn't just favoritism, it was something worse. A secret meeting. Ethan shut his laptop and grabbed his keys. He needed real answers. The law office was small, tucked between a cafe and a bookstore. He stepped inside, nerves buzzing. "You Ethan?" The lawyer, Richard, looked up, flipping through papers. Ethan nodded, sitting across from him. "You have a case?" "I don't know yet," Ethan admitted. "But I think my parents weren't entirely honest about their decision." Richard hummed, pulling out a notepad. "Tell me everything." As Ethan explained, Richard's expression remained unreadable, neutral, professional. But when Ethan mentioned the sudden inheritance shift, the lawyer leaned forward. "Did they say when the will was changed?" Ethan frowned. "They never mentioned a will. Just that they decided Lena needed it more." Silence. "That's not how it works," Richard said finally. "If there was a formal will, there would have been a process. If they bypassed it," he exhaled sharply, "then something isn't right." Ethan's pulse quickened. A hidden truth surfaced. Default text. Ethan sat on the floor of his apartment, papers spread across the coffee table in chaotic piles. Old bank statements, transaction records, grainy photocopies of documents his lawyer helped him obtain. And then, in the mess, he found it. A withdrawal. 3 months before his parents announced their decision, before they told him the inheritance was Lena's, a large sum had disappeared from the account tied to their estate. Not transferred. Not allocated. Just gone. His breath hitched. Had this been about money all along? Piecing together the lies. Through the fading ink and bureaucratic language, patterns began to emerge. Large withdrawals made quietly. Financial discrepancies, numbers that didn't quite add up. No official will updates, just verbal decisions. Ethan clenched his jaw, frustration simmering beneath his skin. They hadn't just chosen Lena. They had manipulated the situation. And they had hidden it from him. This wasn't fairness. This was control. The confrontation. The house felt different when he stepped inside. Stiff. Expectant. His parents sat in the living room, Lena beside them, looking paler than usual. Ethan didn't waste time. He threw the documents onto the coffee table. Explain this. His mother's eyes widened slightly. His father exhaled sharply, lips pressing into a thin line. Ethan, we don't have to go through all this. We do. Because this isn't just about the inheritance, is it? His voice was like steel, cutting through their dismissiveness. Where did the money go? His mother glanced at his father, something flickering between them, hesitation. Panic. It's complicated, his father muttered. No, it's simple, Ethan shot back. You pulled money from the estate, changed the inheritance without any legal process, and then handed it all to Lena under the excuse that she needed it more. Why? His father's expression hardened. We did what was best for the family. Ethan laughed, sharp and hollow. Best for the family? Best for you, you mean? Lena stirred beside them, eyes darting between Ethan and their parents. Guilt written all over her face. Lena, Ethan turned to her now, tone softer but no less firm, did you know? She didn't answer. Not immediately. Then, not at first. Ethan's stomach twisted. And when you found out? Lena swallowed, voice small. I just wanted to believe them. Not denial. Not outright deception. But passive acceptance. She had taken the inheritance, knowing something wasn't right. But she hadn't fought it. Ethan sat across from Richard, the lawyer's pen tapping against a thick folder of documents. You have a case, Richard said, not looking up. You can fight this in court. The words should have brought relief. Justice was within reach. Legal action could force his parents to answer for what they'd done. So why did it feel like crossing a line he couldn't come back from? If I do this, Ethan murmured, it'll blow everything apart. There's no coming back from a lawsuit. Richard leaned back in his chair, folding his arms. Probably not. Ethan let out a slow breath. The resentment that had festered in him for weeks felt like fire, urging him forward. But beneath it, the quiet weight of knowing his family would never be the same. The quiet weight of knowing his family would never be the same. An unexpected interruption. Before you make a decision, I think you should hear me out. Ethan turned toward the doorway. Aunt Grace stood there, her presence catching him off guard. She stepped into the room, her usual sharp eyes softened. I heard about what happened. And before you take this to court, I need to tell you something your parents never will. Richard straightened, looking at her with mild interest. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? A slow breath. Then, your parents were struggling financially long before this inheritance issue. Ethan blinked. That doesn't explain. It does, she interrupted gently. They pulled money from the estate not just for Lena, but because they were desperate to cover their own debts. They lied to you because admitting their struggles would have meant admitting they failed. Silence. The anger in Ethan's chest twisted into something else. So it wasn't just favoritism, he murmured. Grace nodded. They made a choice, an awful one, but it wasn't as simple as just choosing Lena over you. Ethan ran a hand down his face, feeling the weight of the truth settle over him. Negotiation instead of war. So what do I do? His voice was quiet now. Grace met his gaze. You can sue them, break whatever's left of your family ties. Or you can confront them one last time and negotiate. Ethan exhaled, glancing at Richard. The lawyer didn't protest. It was his choice. Revenge or resolution. Ethan had always thought justice meant taking back what was his. But now he had to decide what justice really looked like. Ethan sat across from his parents one last time. The air between them was thick, not just with tension, but with the weight of everything that had led to this moment. Lena sat at the edge of the couch, hands clasped tightly together. Aunt Grace stood nearby, silent but watchful. The legal documents rested on the coffee table, untouched. I could take this to court, Ethan started, voice firm but not cruel. You know that. His father sighed, rubbing his temple. His mother swallowed, shoulders slumped. Ethan, please. No, he interrupted. This isn't about begging for forgiveness. This is about setting things right. The silence stretched. Why didn't you just tell me? The question was quieter this time. Not an accusation, just genuine exhaustion. His mother hesitated, then finally admitted it. We didn't want to look weak. The confession was simple, but the impact was immense. This had never been just about Lena, it had been about control, pride, and fear. This had never been just about Lena, it had been about control, pride, and fear. Redefining justice. Here's how this is going to work. Ethan exhaled, pushing the legal papers aside. I won't take this to court. Not if we fix this now. He laid out his terms. Financial transparency, his parents had to show exactly where the money went. A fair resolution, either repayment, restructuring, or formal acknowledgement of what they had done. No more secrets. His parents exchanged glances, understanding this wasn't a request, it was a demand. Lena spoke next, voice barely above a whisper. I should have said something sooner. Ethan met her gaze, searching for sincerity. Guilt weighed on her, but she was ready to face it. Then say something now, he replied. Lena nodded slowly. I'll make it right. A changed family. The agreement was set, not perfect, not easy, but enough. When Ethan left that evening, he knew things would never be the same. Trust was shattered, relationships were altered. But for the first time, the power wasn't in his parents' hands anymore. It was his choice how to move forward.